Greetings, everyone. A very warm welcome to another edition of Exhausted to Extraordinary, a mindset hack series with me, Dr. Sharon Grossman. And today I am joined by Dr. Carolyn Leaf. A very warm welcome from San Francisco.
Thank
and where
you.
are you hanging out?
Dallas, Texas. So not as pretty as where you are.
Well, I'm sure that it's beautiful this time of year.
It is. It's gorgeous. Lots of rain.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know Dr. Carolyn Leaf, she's a communication pathologist and cognitive neuroscientist with a master's and PhD in communication pathology and a BSc Logopaedics, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, that's it, Logopaedics.
Great. Specializing in cognitive and metacognitive neuropsychology. So quite accomplished, as you can see from the description. Since the early 1980s, she has researched the mind-brain connection, the nature of mental health, and the formation of memory. So I'm sure she's going to have lots of really important and interesting things for you to hear about today. She was one of the first in her field to study how the brain can change. So if you've ever heard the word neuroplasticity, that's what we're talking about with this. And I think that you're going to really, really enjoy this episode. So if you're interested, she is going to share with you how you can clean up your mental mess with 5 simple and scientific steps. All right. And Dr. Leaf, our clock starts now. Question number 1. What are the biggest challenges your ideal client faces?
Just being able to accept that it's okay to make a mess with your life. It is very normal. It's a very human response. And to be kind to yourself and gentle and accept that. There's such a lot of stigma around having depression and anxiety, being told it's an illness when it's actually not an illness. It's a very real thing. It's a very real, but it's a response. It's a warning signal. But people get so hard on themselves and they're scared to talk about it. So that's really one of the big things, is to help people to realize there's no shame, that it's okay, that we are literally designed to make a mess, and because it's all experimental, right? We don't know, we can't control things, events, circumstances, or people. We can only control how we respond. And in that process, it's a process of making a mess and then repairing and growing. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges, to help people normalize that and accept that, embrace it, process it, and reconceptualize it.
Yeah, so true. All right. Question number 2. What are the typical symptoms that they experience with that problem?
Well, anxiety, depression, frustration, even the extreme things, disassociation, all those scary words. One of the biggest things I tell everyone is that those are not illnesses. They're not neuropsychiatric brain diseases, which is what the narrative has been for the past 40 years. What they are symptoms or warning signals of an underlying cause. So there's always a reason why you show up like you do. So you need to become like a thought detective and start and become literally objectively distancing. I call it the multiple perspective advantage, where you literally stand back and observe yourself, go into the you mode, almost giving yourself therapy, and be very gentle and kind, seeing these signals as a helpful messenger, and then become a thought detective to say, okay, well, this is how I'm showing up. This is okay. There's a reason why, and start the whole deconstruction, reconstruction process, which takes time. Takes cycles of 63 days. It doesn't just happen. When we talk about 5 steps, people think, oh, one lot of 5 steps and I'm done. Not at all. It takes cycles of 63 days before you're going to change behavior. And I've had some clients who've been severe sexual trauma, war trauma, you name it. And there's been, 2-3 years of constant cycling through. But to rewire the mind, the brain, using the mind, because the mind changes the brain, you've got to be prepared to work through these cycles. It does take time.
Yeah, that's so true. Beautifully said. All right, 4 minutes and 32 seconds. And question number 3 is, what are the common mistakes they make when trying to solve that problem?
There's a lot of, I think the most common mistake is people think of themselves as shame or I'm broken. Their identity gets very crushed out. So their values, so their core values, I've done something wrong. Meanwhile, every human since the beginning of time has been battling with adverse circumstances. And it's so normal to respond with anxiety and depression because they're just responses, they're warning signals. So your non-conscious mind and your brain and your body, so your psycho and neurobiology, mind, brain, body, which are all separate but connected, are all geared towards balance and towards restoring balance and survival. So the biggest thing is to be able to recognize that this is really something that I'm going through. It's a being, it's a doing, not a being. which is huge. So it's not that I am this. It's not I am depression. I showed in my recent clinical trials, which I put in the book, that we had a lot of clients, and I've had this over the years, saying things like, I am depression, but you're not depression. You can't be depression. Depression's not an it. Depression is just telling you something is going on in your life. There's a reason behind that. So that's really one of the biggest things I would say to people, is really to recognize that these are signals that are telling me something. They're very helpful messengers, and I can track back and find out the source. Once you find the source, and a lot of people do find the source and then they get stuck in talk therapy and things and they don't really move forward, it's really important. The next thing is, once you've identified, okay, this appears to be I'm depressed because of, not I am depression, but I'm depressed because of, and that's okay. Now, how am I going to reconstruct the situation? How am I going to reconceptualize it so that I can change how the past plays out into my future? Because we can't change what's done to us, but we can change what's in us. And that we can do, and that's rewiring, and it's mind work working to change brain, mind and brain being separate.
Absolutely. So 2 minutes and 35 seconds left. We have question number 4. What would be an example of a transformation that's possible after this challenge is properly diagnosed?
Well, people will, you can have someone who's potentially got something like, who's patterns of a lot of depression. It's they can't get out of bed, really just like giving up on life, just crashing and feeling terrible about themselves. Once they start seeing, okay, well, this is not me being crazy, this is me having a response. The transformation comes in recognizing that I'm in this space, getting it out, talking about it, not trying to deny and suppress, because everything we go through, every experience we go through, and I'm going to use a little prop, every experience that we go through is experienced by the mind and transformed into the brain as a physical substance. So we literally build thought trees into our brain made of proteins, and this is a lot of the work that I've done over the years as a neuroscientist. Our thoughts, our experiences are built into the brain as a thought. And a thought has, as you can see, this tree's got obviously a root system and branches, but there's lots of them. So the root system would be the source, and the branches would be how you interpret what you've gone through. So this is a healthy one, and here's an example of a toxic thought. So the reality is that there's the origin, the source, whatever happened. This is your interpretation. This is how you show up. This is now an imbalance. The psychoneurobiology is literally our immune system. Everything about us will be rejecting this because it's threatening our survival. And that to make us work on this, to sort of prompt us, our brain, mind, and body send through signals to prompt us to respond. So we need to see signals as these, as I keep saying, the transformation comes in recognizing that, okay, these patterns in my life are telling me something. And the quicker I embrace them, I shift my neurophysiology. If I embrace them as helpful messengers, I change my neurophysiology. 1,400 neurophysiological responses will now work for me instead of against me. That is a huge transformation. As soon as someone shifts and recognizes, hey, I can. This is not who I am. This is what I'm going through. I can actually rewire this. I can change this. That's where major transformation happens, and that's where the work then really begins. But until you've shifted that, people will get stuck in that place of I can't do anything. So they need to be empowered. And I showed with my work that you can, when people start seeing what I've described, that you can be empowered to get anxiety, depression, all these symptoms under control by a factor of 81%, which is massive, absolutely massive.
All right. Well, we are out of time, but I wanted to have you just hold up your book and share with everybody the book that you just written, and share your free resource with our listeners for people who want to take the next step with you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sharon. It's called Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess, and it's available wherever books are sold, also on our website, drleaf.com. If they go to our website, drleaf.com, and they sign up for the newsletter, they'll get a free downloadable workbook that actually goes with this book. So they can get this book on our site as well, but if they sign up at drleaf.com, they'll get the free downloadable workbook that goes with that.
And thanks so much for sharing that. Thank you for being here and for your time and your expertise. And I love everything that you shared.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for checking out the Exhausted to Extraordinary podcast. If you like what we do here, head on over to iTunes to subscribe, like us, and leave us a review. It is very much appreciated. And if you're feeling burned out and want to challenge yourself, take the 7-day Burnout to Your Best Life Bootcamp. Go to 7dayburnouchallenge.com to join for free.